Hello and welcome to the solution to the 2008 AP Statistics number 2 question. This is all about about bias and collecting samples. So this is a local school board wants to conduct a survey to parents so that have elementary school children. So out of all the elementary or out of the families that have at least one elementary child in their family, they randomly select 500 families. So right off the bat, I'm thinking this is good. They're doing it correctly. They took a random sample. It's a large, good quantity of the families. So far, no problems. And then this is the question they ask. So a proposal has been submitted that would require students in elementary schools to attend school on a year-round basis. Do you support this proposal? Yes or no? There's actually nothing wrong with that either. There's nothing in there that would kind of bias, give a response bias where it influences a person to vote one way or the other. So far they're setting it up good. Let's see what happens. The school board receives responses from 98 of the families, with 76 of the responses indicating support for year-round schools. This is where the problem comes in. They asked 500, but only 98 of them responded. And this is very, very common situation in the real world. Whenever we have students go do a survey, the first thing they do is they send out an email to other kids, and then maybe not even half of them respond. And then they take those results and try to make some sense out of them and come up with conclusions. That's a problem. You can't only just take the small part of who you randomly selected and make conclusions from it. So that's what this question must be all about, right? So based on this outcome, the local school board concludes that most of the families with at least one child in elementary school prefer year-round schooling. So they're making the mistake of taking 76 out of 98 and saying, oh, look, that's a high percentage of the people that want year-round schooling. But in fact, there was 402 families that never even answered, and you have no idea how they feel. So you're not including them, and this is not good results then. So part A, what is the possible consequence of non-response bias? This is exactly what's happening. It's a non-response bias and for interpreting the results. So you should be talking about, if you only take these 98 families, you're underrepresenting all the families because there's another 402 that never responded. So your results, right? Your results would only represent those 98 people who had an opinion to answer right away. Maybe it's representative of the whole population, but there's a strong possibility that these 98 have a strong opinion about going back to going full year round for school, and the other 402 really don't want that. You don't know because you never found out. So you're going to get this non-response bias because we don't know the other 402. The population was not accounted for, even though the 76 out of 98 has a percentage of like 80 some percent. That's not necessarily representative of the percentage of all 500 or of the whole population, which is what your goal is. So you should just talk that through a little bit, right? This is not good. We need to get everybody, or at least a much higher percentage of the people we sampled. Okay, part B, someone advises the local school board to take an additional random sample of 500 families. So they're like, well, we didn't get enough, so let's do 500 more, and then put whoever answers that one, then put them together with these 98, right? And use the combined results to make their decision. Would this be a suitable solution? No. And the answer to that should just be a strong no right off the bat. No, because you're going to run into the same problem. I could ask 500 more families, but what if only 98 of those responded? So now I end up with, well, let's say it's 100, right? So this time. So then I'd have 198 who responded, but only out of 1,000 that I had surveyed. So now I still have, 800 families who were supposed to be in this survey that are not being represented. So you just end up with the same problem. And you can't combine these results to make it look like a bigger survey. you still have a large chunk of people who didn't respond. So that's a problem. So that's what you should be talking about here. No, that doesn't work that way. You can't do that. Part C, suggest a different follow-up step than the one in part B. So part B is bad. What should we do, right? Well, in the original 500, if there's 402 that didn't respond, I know this is hard work, but that's the whole thing about statistics and actually getting good data. You have to take the time to find those 400 people and get their opinions, or at least a huge chunk of them. You don't have to get every single one, but you can't have the higher percentage being people that never responded. So you have to do the hard route. You have to email them again, or you have to go chase them down. You got to go find them in person, go knock on their door, and bug them until they answer the question. And in the real world, that's what people do. That's to get a really good survey. Like recently, I just got my census in the mail from the Japanese government, and they wanted to know everything about the household. Right? They said, are you married, and how much money do you make, and just have you lived in this house, and how long have you lived here, and just all kinds of questions. And I could do it online, and it was great. But if I didn't answer, then it says right on there, if you do not answer this, then we will come knock on your door and we will find you and ask you these questions. So it kind of gives you incentive to respond anyway, because if you don't respond, they're going to come chase you down anyway, which could be annoying for you, right? So you might as well just answer it in the first place. It costs them more money to do that, to come to my house. That costs money. But if they want a real census, that's what they have to do. Same thing here, and same thing when you guys do your own personal surveys. It's difficult to do a survey correctly, but that's what you have to do if you want good results. And this is what bugs me. This is a personal thing. This is what bugs me in the world, is that so many people, they'll take some quick response online or something, and it really doesn't represent the whole population, but they use it as fact and just to try to push their agenda. And this is wrong, and it happens in the world all the time because people don't want to spend the money or don't want to take the time to do it right. And that's what this question is all about. It's a simple question, but it's really hits a big issue in the world today. There you go. I'm going to show you the AP scoring just so you can kind of see what they wrote, and you could pause the video if you want. I'll just hold that for just a second, and then I'll move it up, and you could pause the video and read through that if you wish. But it should say, hopefully, something I said. It does. Okay, so that's there, and I'll hold that. Hopefully you're going through the scoring as well, and really looking at how they score EPI, and how they come up with a score out of 4 in the end. And I'll just flip that over to remind you that your score does come out of 4 based on that EPI grading. Okay? So make sure you take the time to look at those and do that correctly. Thank you very much.